Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome, everybody. So glad to be here with you today. Another Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show, and I'm grateful to have my amazing, magical, superpower friend, Shiraz here on deck. And we're going to be sharing about, how, isn't it funny how we really do lie to ourselves all the time? We tell ourselves, so you know how it is, blah, blah, blah. It's not even true. We tell ourselves all kinds of things that aren't true. And that's all part of the work that Shiraz does, help us get out of these patterns, these crazy patterns. And I'm looking forward to learning more about all this from him, because as much as I've worked with the subconscious for so long, I have a feeling he has more illumination to bring to us about how all this works and how it becomes an addiction and even a physical addiction and everything. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that. So you're gonna definitely want to learn all about it. He's an amazing healer, and he's got a lot of illumination to share with you today. We're gonna dive in just one moment. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. Okay, well, Shiraz, grateful to have you here today.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, so let's go ahead and let them know more about you. So we want you to know that he's an award-winning author, international speaker, and reality shifting specialist. Shiraz Baboo, he helps entrepreneurs by rewriting their business stories, and with them, isn't that cool? Like, you get to rewrite your business story. I love that. And with them, the reality, because most people are unknowingly addicted to limiting and obsolete stories, left with a lack of success, confidence, and freedom. Shiraz helps you to eliminate, terminate, and annihilate your unconscious addictions to these stories in order to ignite a stream of high-paying clients, along with an abundance of free time, money, and energy. It's just so awesome, Shiraz. So liberating. You bring a no-nonsense energy. Every time I connected with you, well, except maybe one time, but you've got that, like, no BS. I get that feeling in your energy, like, hey, we're getting to there, no BS. So I appreciate that about you. That's that, I call it that Shiva or whatever energy, right? Just to put it in all this nonsense the people are suffering from, right? So so tell me a little bit about yourself. It's usually a good place to sort of begin, is just tell me a little bit about yourself. What has brought you into doing all this work, and having the success you are, helping people scale up 6 and even, I think, 7-figure businesses and stuff. And what brought you to doing this work?
Well, of course, it was my own limitations, my addiction to a life that wasn't working for me, and discovering that it was an addiction and not just like circumstances. It's amazing how many things we do that we don't realize are because of a physical addiction in our minds and in our bodies. And we just think, I'm just trying to get by, I'm doing the best I can. And oftentimes you're not. And you think you are. And that's the crazy part of it, right? Yeah. And I went through several periods in my life where there was one point where I almost went bankrupt, and I was just in this anxiety. It was actually really amusing, because I had watched The Secret, and I said, oh, okay. So one of the things that came up for me was, during high school, my friends and I were always talking about having a 6-figure salary. And it was something we talked about, we always looked at. And so immediately after high school, my salary started going up, and I got to a 6-figure salary. And I was living comfortably in a 6-figure salary. But what I didn't realize was, unconsciously, 6 figures to me is $100,000 exactly. Now, 500,000, 800, those are all 6-figure salaries, but my brain is $100,000. Right. And I couldn't make much more than that. It was really weird. And I couldn't figure out why. But I was addicted to that image of I've got the six-figure salary, I've got that $100,000. And after watching The Secret, I realized, oh, well, if I start thinking about things and imagining them and feeling them, I could change everything. And I saw who was in The Secret. So I took Bob Proctor's coaching program. I took Joe Vitale's business coaching program. I took John Assaraf's brain training program. And over the next little while, I went from 6 figures to 0 figures. And I'm like,
Oh.
what the hell just happened here? Right?
I was going to say, didn't you just see all the success and money flying in from everywhere after all those stars? Yeah.
And I didn't know what was going on. I'm going crazy. I'm watching my bank account dwindle. And when you're making 6 figures and you think you're going to be making 6 figures and then get to 7 figures, you keep spending like you're making 6 figures. So pretty soon there's nothing left. I was 2 years I was in the state and just watched all my savings go and then start going into debt. And then I said, okay, these people make millions of dollars doing these coaching programs. Their coaching programs can't actually be this bad, or no one would be going to them. Right? It didn't make any sense to me. So I got a bunch of my friends, I got 7 friends, and said, look, I want to take you through a coaching program for a year based on what I've learned from these guys. And I want to see if you get any results. And they're like, well, how much is it going to cost? It's an experiment. I'm doing it for free. So I put them through the coaching program, and every one of them got results. One guy 10 times his income. Right?
Wow.
I'm like, okay, so it's not the material, it's me. There's something in me that says, no, you can't get past this level. And it was through working through more experimentation, working with people, I found out about these, what we call stories. You run stories in your life and you get addicted to those stories physically. And I was addicted to the 6 figures story, but my 6-figure story was technically just $100,000. That's what I represented in my mind as 6 figures. And when you run these stories, what happens is every time a story plays out, your brain hits you with dopamine. Because you're right, and we love to be right. Right? And people choose being right over being rich, over being successful, over having wonderful relationships, even being healthy. It's like, and so my story was, I can't get past 100,000. I'm at the 6 figure, but I can't get past it. That's something I would say to people over and over again. I didn't realize that as I'm doing that and seeing that the results aren't coming and I'm stuck there, I'm being right, and I'm building a dopamine addiction to that situation. And so that's the one part of it. Now, the second part of it is every time something happens in your life, you create neurons to store that information. And so the neurons also determine how you behave. So when I'm in this story that I can only do 6 figures, if there's an opportunity or to get past and to do 200,000 or even seven figures, my neurons are still firing, nope, you're staying at 100,000. So the decision-making process is going this way instead of this way to the better outcome. And every time that happens, I build more neurons and put them in this cluster and cause this cluster to grow to just anchor in that behavior, those thoughts. I think about those old memories more, I project into the future, that's what's going to happen. And it's a physical bunch of neurons in your brain causing your behavior. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now you've got this chemical addiction, you've got a physical addiction, and you don't realize that's what's going on. And I had to realize, when I finally realized this is what's going on, it was a matter of, okay, now I've got to dissolve these neurons somehow and build up a new cluster with a new habit, basically. And that's the thing I've realized, habits are just addictions, right? We call them habits, but they're addiction to a certain way of thinking, and it's built up a certain amount of neurons that cause us to fire this way. And that's what I had to start doing to get myself out of that place. And eventually I came up with what I called energetic magic from looking at different modalities and seeing how people work, so that I can actually have a conversation with people. And in talking to them, I can see when their conscious beliefs align with their unconscious beliefs. And so whenever they don't, like they did for me, like I kept saying I want 7 figures, but my conscious belief was 7 figures. My unconscious belief was, nope, it's right down here. Right. So I can now see it in people. I'd say, okay, you know what? That's not coming up true. That's not actually what you want. Let's find out what you want. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of reasons why people aren't getting the things they want. And I found out that most times if you've got a problem that doesn't want to go away, or you've got a reoccurring situation in your life that you don't like, those aren't actually problems, those are solutions.
Mhm.
And you have to find out what the actual problem is to remove it. So
Yeah,
for example,
can we break that down? Let me just kind of so people can reset their listening even just for a second so we can really dive into that. So that's a phrase that really caught my attention when I was reading through the materials you had sent to me. It's like that whole idea, right? Let me look at what it is that I was written down so I could say it correctly. The thing you think is a consistent problem is actually a solution for a problem you're not looking at. That's what you put in here. The thing you
yes,
think is a constant problem is actually a solution for a problem you're not looking at. So you're just about to talk about all that. So yeah, absolutely. Let's dive into that one. Absolutely.
okay. Here's a very common one for people, and this is, I don't make enough money. Right? And I don't make enough money has a bunch of problems beneath it that make not having money a solution. But people don't look at it that way. And one of the most common ones out of those possible actual problems is what's going to happen when you have the money. Right? And I've asked people that because they're saying, I'm not making enough money. I really want to be making like an extra $100,000 this year. It's just not coming. I've tried all these things. And then I said, well, what happens if you make the money? Well, then I'll be happy and I'll have freedom and I can buy the things I want. And I'm like, and what else? I could travel, I'll feel good. I'm like, what else? And they start thinking about it. And then they go, oh, my family's going to start asking me for money. If I'm making an extra $100,000 a year. And I'm like, how does that make you feel? I don't want to have those conversations. I'm like, the best way to not have those conversations, not have an extra $100,000.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right? And then people have the belief that, it's in order to make more money, you've got to work harder. And they already feel like they're working hard. So don't work harder, don't make money, you're good. Right? Making more money is a lot of responsibility. So if I make more money, I have to just be dumped on with all this responsibility. And all of these beliefs are running there that you got taught by your parents or your teachers or the news or whatever it is. And they just weigh you down to make that option of having the money horrible when having the money is actually just going to create freedom for you. And so because you don't want to go into that horrible situation, which actually won't be, you just avoid the money. And it's all going on unconsciously though, because consciously I'm working my ass off. I've tried to partner with people. I've done this investment, I've put it all these hours. Why isn't it working? Well, it's not working because deep down you don't actually want it to work.
Right. There's so much truth to that, right? Because as I work on my stuff and everything, I've talked to my healers and coaches that I work with, and one of the things that's come up is I love to I do previously. These days I did a number of business trips every year and everything, so I kind of want to do more of that again. But part of me, saddling up those bags each time and everything, and then I'm out with my family and stuff, so it's a kind of mixed bag, so part of me wants to get back to doing stuff like that, doing various things that I want to I'd like to have money for different things is what I'm trying to say, like to have more money to easily do all these different things, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's come up though is like, and I know it's not true, it's a lie. I'm lying to myself here. I'm like, well, I don't have such an appetite for money. I just want awakening and just be in the awakened presence itself. How much many more riches do we need than the awakened presence itself? And then yet, and still, I'm reflecting my tribe, because my tribe is the same, it shows up the same way then, right? They just reflect back like a mirror. Like, is like the truth is I talk about sales and money and everything, so like I talk about money. I mean, I love the money, I love the money, the empowerment, that empowerment you have with money is the truth. But there's a lot of our listeners that are saying that say to me when I say, hey, yeah, how about going to mid six figures or even seven figures? I recently did some market research. there's quite a few of them. It says, I'm so tired of hearing about six figures and seven figures. I don't care. I just want to help people, and whatever the figures are, I just don't really care. And I'm like, okay, well, if I write you a seven-figure check right now to be a healer for me for a year, what do you think? Oh yeah, sign me. Yeah, I'll sign up for that. I'll totally take that. So obviously they're lying to themselves. They're frustrated probably because they're not seeing that, and they don't, they don't fully aren't fully conscious of why, perhaps. But like, so it's interesting, yeah, that we are really like tied to what it is that we have, and we're, you say, addicted to it and all that, which I'd love to learn more about that or hear more about that. But it's amazing the lies that we buy into all day long, and there's so many stories I could give. I'd love to hear some of your stories too. The lies that you hear people. What are some of like the most common ones? Like those are common ones I hear. Like, oh, I don't really care about making all this money, and then at the same time they're trying to make more money, right? So it's like really weird.
Well, I mean, they say they don't care about making more money so that if they don't make more money, they don't have to feel shameful. Because I don't really care, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I found for most people is the thing that stops you from having what you want, the thing that creates the most limitation in your life is the fear of the possibility of guilt or shame. Not even that it's guaranteed. If there's a possibility that there's going to be guilt or shame, you find a way to avoid it. And guilt and shame are like some of the lowest frequency emotions we can have. So you can see how you can try to avoid them. But to create limitation to avoid low frequency emotions doesn't work for you. And like, for instance, let's say you want to be a speaker and you want to book speaking engagements, but you're worried that, well, what if I get up there and they go, well, who's this person? Why are they up on stage? Like, well, that was like the worst
all
speech
roll
I
their
ever
eyes
heard.
or something as you're talking.
Right. And so you feel, okay, that's a possibility that could happen. I would feel so shameful if the audience looked at me and went, this sucks, or wanted me to get out, or God help me, booed me and I had to leave or something like that. So when you are trying to get your speaking gigs, you'll have a variety of things happen. And some people have specific things that they like unconsciously, and some just mix it up. So it could be, I just can't get speaking gigs. Well, you can, but you don't actually want to because you're trying to avoid the shame of being up on stage. For me, I remember it was something similar when I was in high school. We would do track, the 800 and the 1600 meter track events. I would kill it at my high school. But they kept saying, well, we're going to take you to the provincials. And it was funny because every time the provincial meet came up, I had the flu. Right? And I'm like, why does this keep happening to me? Right? And then now I look back and I go, I was too scared to perform in front of that many people. I felt safe in my high school, but at a provincial level with like 20, 30 schools involved, no, it's too many people. So get sick, avoid it. And then you just like make your excuse later. I mean, and it's a legitimate excuse. I was physically ill. I made my body ill.
Right.
So I don't have to feel guilty. So I could avoid the shame. And it wasn't even shame. I might have won. I don't know. Right. So that's it. People will make themselves sick. They will take themselves out. They will miss appointments. They will, and it'll all feel like, oh, it just happened. There was a mix up, whatever.
It happened.
But
yeah. It just happened. That is so awesome. I love your perspective. I had never really thought of it that way before. A lot of times people talk about, well, it's fearful. I'm afraid of success, or I'm afraid of failure, or whatever. And people talk about the fears and things like that and other things. Not too often you hear somebody say, well, you're just trying to avoid shame and guilt. And I think when it comes to like I also, it's interesting simultaneously as we're talking about with what you do, like I'm talking about high-end clients and everything in my tribe right now. And like you talk about that, and it's like one of the guilts there can be, and I understand this one, I felt it at times, is like, wow, what if they put all this money down and it doesn't work, and they think I'm just like this horrible person that just took all their money.
Yep.
So we're definitely going to keep it really cheap so that I don't have to feel, and they're going to have to get infinite value, so I feel so good about myself and I don't have to feel anything uncomfortable, like maybe I
Mhm.
like I blew it. It was my problem. It was my responsibility to do better for them or something. And they go, and that's a big one, those kind of feelings like, and they sound legitimate. Like you don't really want to rip people off and you want to make sure it goes well and things like that. Even if you think you're great, it's proven like, yeah, everybody comes to me for free. They're all getting great results, but to start charging or charge a lot seems almost impossible to some people. I'd love for
Yeah.
you to tackle that one. Yeah.
Okay. There are two major types of motivation. There's away from motivation and towards motivation. Okay.
Mhm.
Towards motivation is that's what I want. I'm heading that way. It feels great. It's a pull kind of energy. You're pulled to that desire and that goal. Away from motivation is pushing away from the things you don't want. And the problem with away from motivation is number one, your thoughts are on the things you don't want, not the things you want. And there's this constant push energy. And the reason you have this constant push energy is because you want to make sure that doesn't happen or that doesn't show up in your life. And the belief is if I stop pushing, I'll suddenly go the other way. But the thing is, if you stop pushing, you don't have to suddenly go the other way. You can just stop pushing, right? It's like you're pushing against the wall because I don't want the wall to fall. I don't want the wall to fall. And then someone says, just stop pushing. And you know, well, the wall's not falling. It's like, I spent years pushing this damn wall.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is the thing, when you're worried that people will not get great service, like you might do your best and then they're like, I hated it. You're pushing away from that possibility. I got to make sure that doesn't happen.
Mhm.
And away from motivation always creates limitation, always creates contraction,
Mhm.
right? So, and this is the thing, your subconscious always goes for the easiest possible solutions. So if you want to have a whole series of high paying clients, but you have to make sure that every one of the clients is completely satisfied with your work and no one hates you, then your subconscious is like, well, the fewer clients we have, the less chance that they will not they will not like me. So let's get that as small as possible. And for some people, it's zero. For other people,
We're really safe then, right? I mean, yeah,
yes.
exactly. We've all been there before, is why I'm laughing. So let's just keep it at zero. Yeah, exactly.
And
Where am
again,
I safe?
consciously, you're
Right?
like, yeah, consciously, you're sitting there going, I'm getting the low paying clients. But no one's signing up for the high paying ticket. But it's you
Nobody
putting
has
it
the
out there.
money, Shiraz, right? They say that's what people say. They just can't
Yeah,
afford it. Nobody has the
they can't
money
afford
for
it.
that. Right?
And there's just so much money out there.
Right.
And if people really want it, they're going to find the money.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing is when you're in that state, you surround yourself in an audience where they don't have the money. There is
Right.
another audience where everyone's got the money, but you just don't see it, or you don't find it, or you don't look for it. You keep going to the audience to validate your story so you can be right, so you can continue the addiction, and it just goes on.
Right, right. I'm just trying to hold back my laughter. But it's so true. It's so funny. It's so sad in a way too, but it's so funny
Mhm.
too. To see like what we do, how we operate with all that. Um, wow. So I wanted to get back to that phrase again, because I think like unpacking that phrase some more would be helpful. Like, again, the thing you think is a constant problem is actually a solution for a problem you're not looking at. So the problem, like, oh, I feel shameful, is what it sounds like, but you're not looking at that problem. For an example, anyway,
Yeah.
how is the constant problem the solution, though? I don't know if we really hit that or not yet.
So it's like if you don't want to get shamed by being on stage, you don't get on stage, or you get on really small stage,
I got you. Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Got
and
it.
same
So
thing with
like,
money.
okay, so it's a solution for like, I won't feel shameful or guilty or like I'm a failure or whatever by not getting out there. So I've got this. This is the solution. So okay, all right. Just want to make sure I was getting that, and now everybody else has got that if they hadn't already. All right. So good. We covered that one. So wow. So tell us more about how you really work with people, and maybe possibly if you can do a demonstration today too. Hey, I've used myself as a guinea pig, so to speak, on the show before. But yeah, tell us more about how you actually go about addressing it, because you learned all these from all these great teachers out there. And then and by the way, some of those, as great as they are, and I know people get results from those programs, but I've heard one of the particular, I won't single anybody out, but one of those people, I actually know people in that program, and they say, yeah, well, like 99% of the people aren't getting the results in the program. So I'm like, oh, that's not good,
Right.
So, but so I don't, but what is it that's different about your work where people have maybe done all those kind of programs, aren't seeing results, where what you do is different as getting those results?
For me, it's about eliminating the barriers that are keeping you from pushing through into success. I've seen a lot of programs where they say we have to build a habits, get you moving forward, and eventually you push through that success barrier. But I'm like, let's make the barrier as thin as possible before we start pushing through it, and then see what happens. And the thing is, a lot of times when they're trying to push you through, they don't know what unconscious beliefs are running that
Right.
pushing through could make things worse.
Ah.
Right? So if you have a belief that if you become really, really visible, then someone's going to kill you. Can you imagine being in a course where you haven't shifted that belief, you haven't addressed it, you don't even know it's there, and they start putting you in front of bigger and bigger audiences? Like the anxiety is just going to go through the roof.
Right, exactly.
Right. And so that's why it's important to find out what's going on there and start pulling all these things out. And that's what I do is, and I know this is a process. So the way I look at it is it's like a Jenga tower, right? And the Jenga tower is one tower for each story that's running in you. And what we do is we start pulling the blocks out of the stories. And eventually we pull enough blocks out, and this is actually, we're destroying neurons in a cluster is basically what it is. Eventually the tower just goes, and then you're out of the addiction. But if you get one session, let's say, and you've pulled out a couple of blocks, you can even see results and you're like, wow, but the structure is still there and you're still living in the world. So you'll eventually start putting blocks back in there, and then you're like, I lost it, right? And so, and you probably experienced this. Have you ever gone to a retreat or a big workshop and stuff, and you come out of it and you're like, I feel amazing, I'm ready to conquer the world, everything just shifted, right? And then like 6 months later, what?
Right. Or my favorite, which is a little different, but like, I remember one time somebody, the pretty successful entrepreneur, and they're like, we did this amazing thing at this event I was at. We all pulled together. We changed the whole world. Everything's different now. I'm like, okay, because it feels that way, right? We change all realities and all timelines. They're probably true at some level, but like, not in the way that they think, they imagine, right? It's just it's interesting what our mind does.
Yeah. And again, because it's an addiction and you go into withdrawal and you pull things back, they may have actually changed everything. Yeah. But because they weren't maintaining it, the addiction came in, and everything just goes right back to where it was.
Yeah.
That's why you got to keep going and pulling until the Jenga tower breaks, right? And you don't know how long that is. You don't know how many beliefs, you don't know how many blocks are in that Jenga tower. And sometimes you do hit that one, just like you're playing the game. You pull that one and the whole thing goes, except, in this case, you want that to happen as opposed to going, ah, damn it.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So
that's one of the major things. And the other thing that I do is I've just added a new component, and there's an app out there called Positive Intelligence Quotient. So Positive Intelligence for short. Although it's funny, they call it positive intelligence, but the initials are PQ. So I don't quite get that. And it's what I found out is I was taking this course, and they do these exercises in the course that helps to physically rewire your brain. And the exercises they do are similar to exercises I've been doing for years, but I didn't realize they were having the effect they were having, because in the course, they show you brain scans of people doing these exercises before and after over a period of months, and there's a rewiring. You can see different parts lighting up in the brain. And people had always asked me, they said, you're always so calm. When shit hits the fan, you seem to just navigate it. And how do you do that? Because it doesn't feel like you're teaching us that when you're doing our clearings. When we're in the clearings, we're feeling better, but you're just always in this space. And it didn't occur to me that was why. So now I've got access to this app. You can go out and you can buy it for $1,000 on your own, and it lasts for 6 weeks or something like that. Or you can be in the program where I give it to you. And we use the app combined with the energetic magic to clear the beliefs. to build on both sides, get the physical muscles to take you in the direction you want, and remove the obstacles to make everything lighter at the same time. And the combination creates the biggest results you can. And that's how it works. Now we want to do a demo here. So I can do a demo of the energetic magic component on you. And so people can see how that works. So I'll explain how that works. So
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to do that. So yeah, just go ahead, set that up for us. So I can dive
okay.
in.
So you're going to talk to me about something you want to shift in your life. Either something that you haven't been able to, or a recurring thing that just keeps stopping you, or you hate. That's because that's, anything that's recurring, you actually have, it's actually a solution. When you talk to me about it, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious beliefs. So I know whenever you're in alignment with what you're saying versus where you think you want it, and your subconscious is like, no, Daniel, no. Right. So, okay. And I will say, as you're talking, okay, that's not reading as true. So you'll know it's there. And I have to say this so that you don't think that I'm just trying to call you on lies. No, Daniel, stop lying. It's like, no, I know you think that's true, but it's actually not. Right.
Right.
Okay. So once we find out there's a lie, we're going to dig down and find out what the stories are behind the lies. Right? Now, for me, a story is something that happens over and over again. A belief is something that just is. So like a belief is the sky is blue. The story is every time I do this, story of my life, all that thing. People never listen to me. They're always repeating. So I'm going to ask, once we get to it, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to step out of the story, or are you willing to destroy the belief? If you say yes and you mean it, then it shifts in that moment. We just pulled out a Lego block or a Jenga block, and you're actually you're shifting neurons in your brain just by saying yes. But it has to be a real yes, otherwise nothing changes.
Right.
And the cool thing is, I'm asking you, so you're the one doing the change. So anyone watching the show, if they think I've got the same belief, when I say, are you willing to destroy that belief? They can say yes, it will change for them. Right? That's what I love about this technique, because it works for anyone, anywhere. You can even go to recordings and listen to the recordings and go, yeah, let's destroy that. It's going to shift for you. So now when that happens, there's a shift in energy. You've just knocked out some neurons. And this is where it's a little bit weird. Whenever there's energy shifting around me, my body yawns and coughs, and I don't know why, but it just does that. And it doesn't hurt and it doesn't tire me out, and I'm not sick or anything, but I have to let people know this. Like the coughing, because I don't want people to think I'm sick, but the yawning, because sometimes while you're talking to me, you're getting to that space where you're ready to make a change and things start to shift. And you could be like talking about some heartfelt thing and crying, and I'm starting to yawn, and I don't want you to think I'm bored listening to the story. I'm with you, right? So,
yeah.
And so then we'll do that, and we'll probably hit a bunch of stories and beliefs on whatever topic it is, shift them out, and then we'll check in and see how you're doing.
Okay.
So
great.
What would you like to work on?
Okay, so you want me to share a desire then, or what?
So basically, one of the problems you think is a problem that we find out is a solution.
Oh, okay. Okay, so perceived problem. Okay, no, I'm lying already, but but the perceived problem is that see, I already know that's not true, so that's what makes it hard to bring up some of these. I'm like, okay, it's already a bunch of crap. So how do I go into it anyway and share something?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so my mind wants to say, I'd like to take it easy, and I like the whole hard work thing. Like, I'm always railing against the hard work club. Like, you gotta work hard in order to make it all work. And everything. I'm like, no, you don't. So for over a year, I had a mentor that was all about the magical paths and just the easy paths and all that stuff, because but yet and still, I didn't see it during that year. I didn't see this big increase in my income. Things shifted, or different things that happened, but that particular aspect didn't change, but it had me more relaxed. But it's like just this idea of, boy, I want everything to be relaxed, fun, and easy and joyful. Yeah, but I already know it's not actually true. Like, I do and I don't, right? So it's like I already know like the other flip side of it. So the problem is, like, I also have the sense of problem is there's like that kind of softness, kind of, oh, let me just chill energy. And then there's that part that like, let's work night and day. Let's make it all happen. Let's go and kick everybody's butt if that's what it takes to make this happen.
Yeah.
To do anything, like to make it something happen. And I kind of like that little character at times, like, hey, let's
Mhm.
march out the soldiers, so to speak, So, and when I'm in that energy, if it's aligned and it feels good, right, then then I'm not going to be sitting there saying, boy, I want more tea time or whatever, like, no, I'll be like, let's get to work. So that's where the a conflict comes up in my experience, and what that prevents the experience I have is that my mind says, even though I say, well, it can happen easy, it can be easy. Another part of my mind saying, you're not putting the energy into your business that's going to let it grow more than it is
Mhm.
right now. Like there's that, also that recognition or that idea at least. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So the problem with you have to work hard to succeed is there's no choice in it,
yeah. Yeah.
right? And that's the biggest problem with that statement. And the way I do it is I'm willing to work hard to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if a situation comes up, I'll work my ass off to
Mm-hmm.
create that success.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also willing to sit on my ass and have money show up in my bank account.
Yeah.
And I'm willing for everything in between.
Yeah.
And so that's how my life goes. Is there are times where I'm really, really working.
Right.
And then there are times where I'm just relaxing and it's all good. And for me, work, I don't like the word work. I like taking action.
Yeah.
Because work implies it's got to be struggle. It's got to be something you don't like. It's got to be this hard thing. But taking action, you can just be in this joy of taking action. Like,
Right.
it's like, oh, we have to do what? And they told us we couldn't do it. Oh, no, that's it. Gauntlet is down. Let's do
Right.
it.
Right.
And you're just at it, right?
Right.
And so that's the difference, because now you're in this place of choice. Now I'm choosing to just take all this action, and then today I'm choosing not to take so much action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get into the guilt about it because you're doing this. Now, one of the things that's coming up for you is, who do you deserve success if you don't work hard?
Yeah, I think my energy is still saying no to that.
Okay, who taught you that?
Probably my parents,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's coming up true.
And culture, but like, yeah, the usual suspects, or like, they both had quasi businesses. They were businesses, but like they didn't have that many different clients.
Mhm.
So anyway, that's a whole nother story. But the bottom line is they were of the idea of hard work, even though my dad didn't always work hard. He was more in spurts. He was a seasonal business. So like he'd be working a lot at one point, then he wouldn't be working so much, at other times. My mom, like she like to this day, she'll stay up night and day working on something. And then she might crash eventually, but like she's just gonna be totally relentless. She has no biological clock, that she hears. She just stay up, sleep when she wants to. And then she was the most successful of the two. So, okay, who had more success? The one that was putting in more energy. So the
Yep.
idea, and I'm just realizing this now talking to you. Oh, the one that worked harder got more results, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And that's absolutely true, but your sample size is 2 people.
Right. Right, exactly. But growing up, that's what I had, right? I mean, those were my
Yeah.
primary examples. So,
Yeah. So that's the story you grew up in. That's the story you're still stuck in.
okay.
Well, are you willing to step out of the story that only the people that work the hardest have the success?
Mm. If I'm honest, in my body, it's saying no right now. It's
Yeah, I can feel that.
no,
There's a lot
no,
of
no,
resistance.
no. We don't
Right?
trust that. We don't trust that. We don't trust that. Part of me does want to work hard. Don't make me take away my hard work.
And the key word there is only, because
Yeah,
there are people that work their asses off and have a lot of success.
yeah.
But there are people that don't work that hard and have a lot of success.
Right.
It's
Right.
not based on the amount of work.
Right.
Yeah, it would be cool if like you could just have this thing and, oh, well, he works hard and then he gets success. That's just the way. But there's so many cases across the planet where people weren't working hard. They just stumbled into it and suddenly they're a success. I remember, what was it? A Knight's Tale. I don't know if you remember that old movie. Heath
Yeah.
Ledger and the girl, the main female character. I heard after the movie that she was a DJ, and the producer just sort of walked in, saw her DJing, thought she had the right look, said, "Would you like to be in the movie?" And then suddenly she's the lead. And I'm like, wow, that wasn't hard work.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm a teacher of let it be easy and the ways that it can be easy. And I've demonstrated, for many years, I have operated much like you're talking about. Like there's spurts of a lot of work or action, and then there's times when it's a little slower and everything. I've never worked a lot. I actually am not working a lot of hours typically, like, it's formally in my business, like I'm in my business right now, I work in my business. But I think part of me has a question mark. Well, yeah, you probably, if you finally work hard, you'd get more success. Like it, that subconscious is telling me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then part of you, okay, so the success level is another issue, but with the hard work thing, if you don't work hard, are you disrespecting how hard your mom's worked all her life?
No, because I always felt like she was out of balance.
Okay. But if you work hard, if you don't work hard and get a lot of success, and you see her working hard to not get success, how do you feel? Well, to not get this level of success you have. She's got more success than your dad, but if you outpace her by not working hard, how would you feel?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. No, I wouldn't feel good about that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So because you wouldn't feel good about that, you have to make sure you work at least as hard as she does in order to have the level of success she does, or however you've lined it up so far.
Yeah.
So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to work as hard as your mom so you don't feel bad about outpacing her?
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a big one. Yeah, I want to release that for sure. Yeah. I don't want to stay with that one.
Okay. So that one should actually have loosened up the other one. So now, are you willing to step out of the story that only the people that work the hardest have the success?
Feeling yes. I'm getting yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So now, what's wrong or what's bad about having a really big success?
Could be on a huge spotlight. Everybody wants to grab my attention, and it might be like, you got to work hard now. You're really responsible for all these people, and you got to do all this stuff. So
okay, so there it is right there. When more people want your attention and your help, are you responsible for every one of them?
no, I'm not.
That's not actually coming up true.
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay. And I knew that wasn't going to come up true because you just said, I have to be responsible for all these people. That doesn't come out of your mouth by accident, right? That's just your subconscious talking.
Okay.
So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to be responsible for every person you work with?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm done with that one. Yeah, that's yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't get that because it's like, well, if I'm a healer or if I'm supposed to be doing it, I should be responsible for them. No, you should be present with them and contributing in the best way possible in a session.
Right.
But as soon as you decide you're responsible for them, you're not just responsible for their changes in the session. Your subconscious doesn't compartmentalize. You're responsible for them, all of them. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And just even in the context of the session, let's say you've got 6 clients during the day and you start off with Joe and you do a good session with Joe, but there's a couple things you didn't quite get to. And so now you're responsible for Joe. So leaving Joe's session, you're like, ooh, how can I do that next? I got to, how do I going to fix that? And now you're thinking about that and it's taking up a small percentage of your brain because you're responsible for Joe and you didn't like the results you got. So now you move on to Nancy. Now you're not fully present with Nancy because you're responsible for Joe and Joe's on your mind. So now you give a session with Nancy. And of course, it isn't the best session because your mind was on Joe. So now you're upset because your session with Nancy wasn't so great. And now you go on to Carol. And you can see the pattern now going through the day,
That's
then
fine.
going through the week, right?
Right.
Because you're responsible. But if you stop being responsible and just give the best session, be present, give the greatest contribution, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Then that session's done, and now you can be fully present in the next session and keep going. And there's no added weight.
Right.
And because you're in this, you're in a space to give the best work you can, but also you don't get tired as much. You don't get worn out, which happens with a lot of healers because they're taking on this responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And you also start to sort out, because a lot of the healers, if they're not getting the results, they might not be a match for that client. But instead of letting them go to get someone that's a match for them, they hold on to them. They're still not getting the results. They're responsible for them. It's just like, oh my God. So,
Oh, Shiraz, I just recently, like I haven't, like what I consider my old tribe, and I kind of have this thing where I'm hanging on to some of the old tribe. And I just told my coach last night, I'm done. I am broken up with my old tribe. That is it. I'm done. I've had enough. Like, because I could feel the energetic drag, and it was showing, things were showing up in certain ways that were showing me that. I'm like, it's done. That's done. It's a little bit daunting, because it's like if you move out of a marriage or something. Oh my God, who will I be with next? And how does that look? Like, I'm already with some of those people, but it's like, it still feels big. It feels like, wow, this is a big move. So.
okay.
Yeah.
So are you willing to step out of the story that you're responsible for everyone you work with?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, cool. How's that feeling? Better, worse, the same, or different? There's no wrong answer.
I'm just being present, so I would say the same. I didn't necessarily feel a specific shift in that, just that last clearing. You mean overall?
Well, overall.
Overall. I feel some fear. I feel like a fear that's still there. Like, oh my God, where's this going?
Okay.
Where's the swamp monster gonna come out and get me? Yeah.
Okay. So what's the biggest fear that comes up with you when you're talking about creating big success?
I have, it's like the way, what's coming up for me is a sense of like, I have this thing about where I kind of take over in a process of with working with people or commanding an audience or whatever. I'm like, here we go, we're going. And there's something that maybe I don't trust about that, or something like there's a fear around really stepping into that more and trying to be maybe walk on eggshells, get somebody, maybe because maybe I'm not going to take them to the right place. Maybe I'm delusional or whatever.
Okay. Do you have to be in complete control of the experience and the outcomes?
No.
Okay, that's not actually coming up true.
Okay, you're getting. Okay. I believe that it is. Okay.
Okay. Because if you're worried about working with people and working at a bigger level, and from what you're describing, it feels like this control of let's go everyone and make sure everyone's on track, getting the right results, and the bigger the audience, the harder it is to control everyone that's going on.
Right, exactly.
Right? So in order to make sure you have the most control, you got to shrink the audience.
Right.
And again, this comes from away from motivation. I just worked on someone earlier today, and it was I have to make sure no one has a bad experience.
Right.
And again, the best way to make sure no one has a bad experience is to have no one in your group, right? But most people make a smaller group. Yeah. It's amazing. So are you willing to step out of the story that you have to control? That's it. So you have to control the experience so that everyone enjoys themselves and gets results.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm getting a no. Like, no, everybody needs to enjoy themselves. Everybody needs to get the result. Even though, I mentally said, oh, that was okay. That happened in the past. Like over the last few years, like certain client experiences where I felt shamed, in the process of working with a certain clients, one or more clients, like I felt like, oh, well, I'll just dim myself down. I know, I consciously did it basically. I'm like, oh, I have to dim myself down until I get it right now. Like that's what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I didn't care as much. I was like, well, forget it. I'm just going. It's their experience. And then like this, I want to say compassion, but like came in, I'm like, oh, maybe I should listen to them. Oh my God.
Mhm. So again, you're trying to avoid that shame you felt.
Right.
And so you're adjusting what's going on. If you have more control of the situation, make sure everyone has a good time, you can avoid the shame.
Right.
And if you have more and more people, it's going to get harder and harder. So you've got to limit that success.
Right.
So, okay. So are you willing? Yeah, we'll do, because you didn't actually clear that. You just made the realization of what was going on. Are you willing to step out of the story that you have to be in control of the experience? So to make sure everyone has a good time and a growth experience.
All I know is I no longer want to have that feeling anymore. I no longer want to go with that. That's all I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you willing to step out of the story that you need to have that control?
Yes, I'm willing to. Yes.
Remember that the intention is always that everyone has the best possible experience, but resistance comes up when you have to make sure people don't have bad experiences.
Right.
And when you're in resistance, you shut things down. But when you're in the willingness, and this is the hard part for people, when you're willing for people to have the best possible outcome and the worst possible outcome and anything in between, then everything flows. There's no resistance.
Right.
The intention is still the best, but the willingness is for anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Totally. And often, I mean, in the past, especially, I was more of this mindset. It's like I really look at, well, if it so-called didn't work out for them, there's something that's unfolding through that anyway for them. That's stirring something inside them, and it's going to work itself out in its own way. I don't need to be. I don't have to. It's not mine it's not mine. It's not mine. I was there to put something into motion. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so I feel much.
People.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, I was just gonna say I feel much better about everything now. Now I do feel better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, that's where I like to get you. But if I don't get you there again, I'm open to all the possibilities. Sometimes people go through this and the stuff that comes up, it actually makes it feel worse because there's some deep emotional thing gets unlocked. And they're like, oh my God, right? So,
right.
So you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. No, this is good. This is, I think, a huge part of what's I've been noticing coming up, because I was like, there's something not quite right. And I think you really hit on something here today. So thank you so much. That's really helps me feel better about what I'm launching right now and everything. So it really feels good. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, great. Well, I'd love to go on and on, but I want to make sure I have a chance for people to learn more about you.
So up on my shelf is How to Rewrite Reality. It's a book I wrote that you go through those programs. It's going to be a great lead magnet. It's going to bring clients to you. And I wrote the book, and people were reading the book and having shifts, like just reality shifts in their life. I'm like, I don't need to see you. I'm like, wait, what? It's not why I wrote the book, but it turned out to be really powerful. A client recently said he gave the book to his son who'd been depressed for several years, and he came out of depression after reading the book.
Awesome. Great. So what's the so what is it again? It's How to Rewrite Reality.
Yeah. So it shows you how reality works. Everything is in the metaphor of stories. So you're going to hear about your genre, your character type, your backstory, your co-authors of your stories. There's a section on dealing with the plot holes in your story and plot twists. And then the last chapter is happily ever after. So everything is on story metaphor, so it's easily relatable, but and there's a whole bunch of stories of what I've been through and what some of my clients have been through. So you'll have all the examples of how you're creating your reality, and you can just say, you know what, I'm going to rewrite this story.
Right. Awesome. Where else can they find you or learn more about you?
You can go to energeticmagic.com.
energeticmagic.com. Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and make sure we include that into the show notes. And I'm just so grateful for everything you're sharing today. Magic.com, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. So yeah, we got to the time of the show where I like to just do a quick tune in on my guests and share a little bit of my magic and just share like 3 things I'm picking up to share with you from my guidance. So you ready to receive, Shiraz?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. All right, here we go. So let me just tune in for a sec. I keep getting this, like this has been coming up since I think I met you. It's like, well, first, I mean, okay, so just the energy of healing really is so expanded for you. I definitely get the Egyptian sort of energy comes in, Egyptian lifetime energy, kind of a master healer from past lives. But there's this, you know, there's like this mass healing that seems to want to happen through your energy field that I'm not sure you're fully doing yet. So that's something that's coming through, is this mass healing that you have great, whatever capacities or whatever potential to do that. And it's like you just sizzle up the energy. It's just like it just that's how it looks anyway. So so you're really able to transmute that energy. Anyway, so I noticed that, and the other thing coming to me as I'm tuning in is just that you have a capacity to be able to see a real big picture of where things are for humanity, for individuals, for group, corporation. If you're working with a group or whatever, you have this sort of visionary capacity, and that you're a visionary also for the new age and all that sort of stuff. So you have the gift of you do have a gift for prophecy, whether you're fully using it or not, or whatnot, but you have a gift for prophecy of things to come and things like that to maybe help prepare people for some of the sorts of things that are coming. I also get, you've done so much study through the lifetimes, and then I just see lots of books, but I also feel that, you're talking about the ebook, then I just see like more. I get this with a lot of my guests, but in your case, I see lots of books. So it kind of feels like you have lots of books you want to come through you. So I feel that's definitely part of your future, sharing more with books too. So more to the masses, I think, is a direction for you that wants to be embraced. And yeah, that's what's coming through today. So I'll just leave it at that so far. But any quick thoughts or reflections, Russ?
No, I do definitely want to do a lot more books. So yeah, and the healing, it's something I'm going back and forth because I've had results in physical healing with a lot of people, but I've been trying to stick to business. But maybe I got to go back and not necessarily switch over, but do both.
Right. Oh, could be. Right. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, there's always something more that wants to open up inside this, isn't there? I love it. I love it. So for everybody listening in, if you also want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There is a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation available there by applications. You can check that out. And yeah, so I wanted to share that with you. And then also there's a free meditate and make money meditation there for you to really get connected, open up those chakras, receive the energy and guidance that you need to allow the good stuff to drop in, and do it to allow the easy way to unfold more, the meditate and make money way. And people are getting some really great results from that. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Last thing, I've got my Facebook group, Rock Your Sacred Purpose, which I want to let you know about because I do energy scans there and channeled messages, and also share wisdom on awakened sales there as well. So check that out at Rock Your Sacred Purpose. Okay, great. So, Shiraz, I like to always give the guests the last word. So, what last words do you have for the audience today?
It's never be afraid to be the happiest person in the room.
Huh?
Because a lot of people treat happiness like an illness now. It's like, what's wrong with you? What drugs are you on? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be happy.
Oh wow, I love that. I love that. Yeah, because there's so much fear that we're is purposely being brought to us. Like, oh, be afraid of that, and be really afraid of that. Like, yeah, be afraid of everything. That's what it starts to turn into. So, and then with there's things that happen in the world. How could you be so happy, right? So all this kind of concepts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is really important right now. So I'm glad you shared that. So let's lay on the joy, folks. And again, thank you so much, Shiraz, for coming on the show today. It was awesome, amazing process and clearing you did for me. I really, really appreciate your work.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. It's been great.
And for the rest of you, thank you for listening. Keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. So next time, everyone, goodbye for now. Listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.